Hi folks, haven't made a video for a while. This is going to be another video about reincarnation or rebirth, life after death, whatever you want to call it. It's an important subject because it gets to the core of what we are as beings, and we're no different to any other being or thing in the universe. So by understanding ourselves, we understand all other things. By the same token, by understanding the nature of other things, we can understand ourselves too. I'm going to be examining a video that was recently released on YouTube by a Buddhist teacher by the name of Ajahn Brahm. I don't normally like calling monks by their adopted name, because often it means something like great and clear mind or something along those lines, and in reality the person is exactly the opposite of what their name is. So I think it's just a bad use of language, you know. Let's have a look at some of the things this particular Buddhist monk is saying.
It's a bit of an esoteric subject because they asked me to talk about the first couple of days after you die.
The first couple of days after death? What, as opposed to what, the first week after death? The first 6 months? The first year after death? No. Sorry, that's not an esoteric subject at all. That's a totally mundane subject, a totally worldly and finite subject. Now, Ajahn Brahm argues that there's heaps of evidence for the existence of continuing life after death. He divides the different evidence into different categories. His first category is proof by meditation, which is, he argues, understanding the relationship between the mind and the body. That's all he says, basically. This is the video clip.
And that's the sort of great understanding you get after many, many years of meditation. So you know exactly what's going to happen, because you know the nature of the mind, the nature of the body. And
now, Ajahn Brahm's reasoning with regard to this is very vague. I don't believe there is any reasoning there at all, obviously, but I'll attempt to explain what his position is. You can watch the video for yourself, if you don't believe me. But Ajahn Brahm believes that the mind is completely independent of the body, has no need of the body. It's completely independent of the brain, has no need of the brain. And he uses as an example that sometimes a person may be meditating and you can't get them out of the meditation. You can shake them, you can shout out to them, you can shine lights in their eyes, and you can't get them out of the meditation. And his reasoning is that the mind is completely separate to the body. So no matter what you do to the body, you can't affect the mind. You can't touch the mind. It's completely separate. Now, I did a little experiment earlier on. This is what I filmed. Okay, what we've got here is some candles, and the candle flame is going to represent consciousness, and the candle's going to represent the body. We're going to light that in a moment. Down here we have some traditional implements of death. Okay, now let's see what happens when we bring this to life. are going well. Now let's see what happens. We'll watch closely as this candle flame is right now, it's approaching the end of its life. It began dying the very moment it was born. It began the process of death. But its death, its real death, is rapidly approaching. Now, we want to make absolutely sure that this candle is actually completely dead. So, we've got here a glass full of frozen water and ice. Just leave that there for a few moments because we don't want that candle flame coming back on again. Okay, I think the EEG has detected that we've achieved brain death. Just to make sure, okay, that's pretty much got it. There we go. Now I hope we noticed there that the candle flame wasn't independent of the candle. It wasn't independent of its oxygen supply. It wasn't independent and separate from me. And that when its life was extinguished, it no longer produced heat, no longer produced light. Obviously, it continued to have effects in the world. While the candle flame was alight, the temperature of the candle would have been raised a little bit. When I dunked that warm candle into the ice water, some of the heat will have been transferred into the cold water, warming it up a little bit. So it's not as though cause and effect comes to an end when the candle flame is extinguished. There's a continuum of cause and effect, and nothing's going to stop that. That is the only way in which things continue after death. Things continue in their effects. That's all. Okay, next our monk is moving on to his next category of evidence for life after death, and it's what he calls evidence. He's moving into the actual evidence, so apparently, meditation is not proper evidence, but now he's going to present us with some real evidence, and it's people who can remember the period in between lives. Now, generally speaking, I don't like to call people liars, because people generally are not conscious about what they're saying. People repeat things that they've heard from somewhere else. They repeat things that they've experienced in a dream. They have no concept of what truth is in the first place. So, to say that they're liars is a bit misleading. But to the degree that this monk is conscious, which probably isn't very much, you can now hear him lying.
We've also got what we even call like the evidence-based stories of people who either remember their spaces between their lives, and there's quite a few people who can remember those spaces between their previous lives. can either do this spontaneously or they can have training to remember that time.
Yeah, sure. They can remember the periods in between their lives. Of course they can.